Previous video we have learned about variables, how we can create variables. In this video I'll show you how to print or use these variables, and also we are going to extend our knowledge about variables. So the first thing first that we want to learn is that how we can use these variables that we have created, because the idea behind variables is to store data to deal with it later on. Right now it's time for us to deal with that data that we have stored previously. So essentially we do not have too much capability up to this point because we haven't introduced Android Studio and how we can use these variables. So that's why we are going to work with something called the console. Essentially it is like the final result, the final screen for your application. Is essentially it's gonna allow us to show something to the user. So in order for us to call the console or show the console, we can use this function right here. Later on we are gonna explain function, but for the time being just follow along with me and write the exact same thing that I'm gonna write right here. Essentially this line right here, okay? And here I am just gonna type a print ln, print in a new line. That's what does that mean. I'm just gonna type or pass the first name like this. So the first name here. So essentially this is gonna take whatever we put it between these parentheses and show it to the console. And in order for us to show the console, technically we can click on this run right here. You can see it on the right hand side here on the top. I'm gonna click on the play button right here, and as you can see we are getting Rob Smith because we have passed the first name right here as a parameter to this function, okay? And we have this first name referred to Rob Smith, right? If we change it to anything like Android app development, okay? If we give it any text right here and click on play, we will see the text that we are passed right here is gonna show right here. Now how about printing more than one variable? Essentially we can use the plus sign to concat these variables. Use the concatenation, okay? Last name, I'm gonna give it the last name plus the age plus the speed. However, we will see a little problem right here and I will show you how to fix it. So click on the run button right here, and as you can see we are getting all these values, but the problem is that we are getting them with no space between them. Now in order for us to add a space, essentially we can use the plus sign and add an empty quotation like this, double quotation with empty space inside it. That will create an empty space for us between all these variables. Make sense? So this is one of the solutions. Of course there are better solutions, but this will do the job. If we click on the play button right here, you will see Android app development, my name, the speed, the age and the speed. So this is how you can print more than one variable to the console. Now it's time for us to take a deeper look of variables. So here I am just gonna close my console and get rid of this dude. Now let's explain what does this line mean exactly. Okay, so when you are creating a variable, the compiler what it's gonna do, it's gonna go ahead and create a new resource in the memory with the label first name. Now Kotlin by itself, it's gonna detect the type of the value or from the value itself. So if you are giving it a text, then it's gonna let's say specify that this value or this variable right here will be a type of string. So essentially the type of the variable will be determined by the value itself. So if you give it a number, then the type of the variable will be number. So this will happen automatically. Now, how about if we want to specify that ourselves? So, for example, if I change this now, this variable right here to a number, then I converted the type of the first name from a text to an integer. If I make it 0.4, then it's going to be changed to a decimal. If I make it any value, then the type of the variable will be changed to the type of the value. Now, what if I want to say that this variable should be specifically and it will be always a string? Well, here after the name, we have the ability, or we have an option to add a colon, then say that this variable should be only string, like this. So it will be always string. And the same thing, we can make it int to say that it is an integer, it's a number. Make sense? So using this stuff, we can specify the value or the type of our variable. So if I specify to be string and here pass a number, I will get an error, okay? Because this is not valid. If I run it right now, so print ln and pass it the first name like so, I will get an error like so. So give it a second, and of course it's gonna take a second because we have an error, so it's gonna compile it, but I am very sure that we are gonna get an error. As you can see, the compiling will take a while because it's gonna try to detect an error right here. Now for some reasons however, this will make an error. Trust me, I do not want to waste the time, so it will cause an error in our case, so we need to revert it back. Anyways, here I'm just gonna specify a valid string. Okay, if we go ahead and click on run, and yeah, the integer literals does not confirm to expect type of string. So as you can see, this is the error that we got. It says that we cannot store a string or to a value of, we cannot assign a value of int to variable with type string. Now after we have updated the value, we can click on run, and as you can see, we'll get my name Abdul Wahab. It's been printed successfully. Now, as I said, we can optionally specify the type of our variables. So this is really important to keep in mind. Very simple. So that was our lesson. We have learned about data types and how we can specify a value of a specific type. Of course, we can do the same thing here with age. We can tell that it should be an int. Here, of course, with a capital I. So this way we are going to tell it that it will be an int, and never ever get any value except int or integer. Okay, so this is how you can specify variables with a specific type. In the next video, we are going to discuss about the null safety and how we can create safe mode variables. So see you in the next one.